It is 7 o'clock. So welcome everyone that's here, and also those that will be watching on YouTube later on. I'm going to call the meeting to order. This is the Minnetrista regular city council meeting for September 19th. I'm going to ask that you first turn off all of your electronic devices or put them on cell phone mode or airplane mode, and join me for Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So first off, I'll start with introductions. I'm Lisa Whalen, I'm the mayor, and next to me we have council members Pam Mortensen, John Chumperland, Ann McGregor, and Kathleen Refkin. And then we have our city engineer Allison Fauski with us this evening with WSB. We have our director of public works, Gary Peters. We have our administrative assistant. Okay, I always forget your title. This is terrible. Director of Administration, Ali Polfos, and then we have our city clerk, Don Motzko, and then next to me on my right, we have Jasper Krugel, our city administrator, Brian Grimm, our finance director, and Sarah Sansala is our attorney. Welcome back. It's so great to see you. So welcome back. Glad to have you here. And then also sitting in for our chief this evening, we have our Lieutenant Squires is with us. So thank you for all of you being here. We have a short agenda tonight. Is there approval of the agenda, or are there any changes or additions? Okay, hearing none. Is there a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
So moved.
Thank you, Ms. Refkin. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Chumperland. All those in favor signify with aye. Aye. All those opposed, motion passes 5-0. We don't have any special presentations tonight, and nobody's here to sign up under persons to be heard. I would like to welcome Michael Corey, right? Thank you. He's here observing this evening. Thank you for coming. And we also have Jake Youngstead. Also, thank you for coming. Youngren. Thank you. I always forget your last name. So thank you, folks, for being here this evening and taking an interest in city matters. So we'll move on. We don't have anybody under persons to be heard. We have consent agenda items. Are there any you wish to remove? Otherwise, they consist of A is approve our work session meeting minutes from September 6th, 2022. B is approve City Council regular meeting minutes from September 6th, 2022. C is a resolution to approve claims. D is a resolution to approve the appointment of election judges for the November 8th, 22 general election. E is to approve appointment of the absentee ballot board for the November 8th, 2022 general election. F is approve the conditional offer of employment for police officer candidate Evan Morgan. And G is to receive and accept the special benefit consultation reports from Patch and Messner related to 23 street improvement projects. So is there a motion to approve consent agenda items A through G?
So moved.
Thank you, Ms. Mortensen. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Chumperland. Any further questions? Hearing none, all those in favor signify with aye. Aye. All those opposed, motion passes 5-0. We have no public hearings this evening, so we'll move right on to our business items. Our first business item is awarding a task order number 2 agreement with AES2 for the evaluation services of city wells 3 and 4. I believe that's Mr. Peters?
Yes, it is, Madam Mayor, members of the council. What they have here is a preliminary evaluation for the water quality in the city wells number 3 and 4 that are currently used. 3 is currently supplementing the salt system. 4 would also do that, but it is offline and only used in emergency situations. We have a big house fire or something like that. That's due to the poor water quality of that well. When it is on, it pumps real fine-grained sand into the system, which is not great for the whole system. So the water analysis will look at a couple things. First off, it's also going to check for the contaminants in there, because it is into a different part of the Mount Simon, and it is a little higher in the radium. So we'll be looking at that. And if everything comes back within good limits for the Department of Health, we'll be looking at what kind of a temporary filter can go in between the well and the main distribution system, which is a short run, as an interim solution to help combat the water needs that we may end up with if we have another drought. We are sustaining right now with what we have going. The towers are holding, especially now we're really good, but we did make it through the summer with only a minor glitch. So, but this would help in the interim if we would come into another drought situation. Once everything's looked at and it is determined that, hey, we can do some kind of a filter system and it can be installed, then a technical memo explaining what they found and what the next procedures would be presented to you, along with the estimated cost to get that in. And now, remember, this would just be a temporary to get us through the next couple of years until the water treatment plant is online, because 4 will then be given up for the new well that will be going for the new water treatment plant. But it would help in the interim. So this task order will be billed at hourly rates not to exceed the $8,825 in there. So what we're asking tonight is to approve task order number 2 for AE2S to evaluate the water quality of those wells and the sustainability of some kind of a filter system at that not to exceed price of $8,825.
Okay.
So if you have any questions, I can try to answer them now.
So has AE2S given us any kind of, let's just say they say, okay, this is doable. Do we know what the cost of that would be?
It would depend on what is needed for the filtering system there.
Okay.
And how, and then how fast we could get it in line and, kind of approved through the MDH or the Department of Health, to have them look at it, make sure everything's fine with them and get it in line. So there's a lot of things into play. I did not want to go down that road yet to get any kind of an estimate until we find out is even feasible. Then we can spend more money on looking at the cost.
Is not only the radium, but also the, obviously the silt an issue? Those are the two biggest.
Then that's the two big things we're looking at. It's not so much radium that we would filter out, but it's the sand, the silt that we, if there, unfortunately, like any of the water anywhere around our area, yes, there's manganese in there. It would be a little bit higher. It would be treated with, kind of point source a little bit, but not great. But, in the interim, would people rather have, the water with, not, being a more blended water than not having water at all? I think it would be a better choice.
Okay. Questions? It sounds like there should be a go. So do I have a motion then to approve task order number 2? This is the agreement with AE2S for the evaluation services of wells number 3 and 4, not to exceed $8,825.
So moved.
Thank you, Ms. Refkin. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion passes. Just one question, Gary.
Yep.
Do we have a time frame? Do they know how long this will take?
As soon as they get the sampling done and take a look at what's in there, they could have something together easily within a month. He said they could have something
Okay.
kind of in line and looked at, and then after that would get approved, a rough evaluation of it, then they would go into more detailed planning. So,
Okay.
hopefully, like I said, I would like to see something if we could do it online. Hopefully by next summer, midsummer, fall would be nice.
Right.
So.
Okay. Great. All right. And then task order number 3.
Thank you. That would be me again. This will be for them to prepare a distribution hydraulic model of the existing water system. What we're looking at here is to have them working off their own numbers. WSBA I know has one and all that, but what we talked to them about and want them to do is look at the entire south system, what's happening with it, what's going to happen with the new plant, and develop their own numbers to work off of, so that if something in the future would be wrong, that they're held accountable and they can't point the finger anywhere else. That is the need for this. I don't want something to say, well, that's what they came up with. So when we had our primary discussion about this, I said, I want this to under your own numbers, what you guys calculate, what our needs are going to be, especially with the way things are changing and there's commercial coming in to address that. The things I'll be looking at is, the building of the piping networks that are there, creating the scenarios, looking at what the meter demands, what we've sold in the past, what might be there, using flow testing that they'll come in and do, along with the existing, looking at the existing model and the 2040 comp plan, working too with planning department, looking what they're looking ahead to coming into. Some of the challenges that are going to be is the piping. We've had this preliminary discussion. With the plant size that we're looking at, they would recommend a 16-inch pipe. Right now, the largest thing we have out there is 12-inch. It's not even close to it. So we have to look now to determine where can this 12-inch pipe get in from on the main line, which would be, I can't remember
there's a
right, it's
12-inch
Woodland
pipe.
Cove Boulevard has the 12-inch main
Right.
line. Everything else through development is going to be 6 and 8-inch. So we need to get that, since this is the good part. It hasn't been done in there yet, so there's no roads, no piping, but it needs to get looked at. Any upgrades need to get done to the plans now, and then figure out how to get it out there. So there may be a little bit of expense to get the pipe out to the main line at this point yet. But the good part is the roads aren't completely finished out there. So it's going to take some strategy to figure out the 8-inch main line running down Lotus will have to be kind of a separate pipe. So they're kind of probably looking at some kind of a modified manifold system out of the plant to distribute water in different areas at different rates.
So we have, I think, a 12-inch trunk line going all the way down Highway 7.
Correct.
Are you saying we don't have to change that?
No.
Okay.
It would be
Thank
great if it was
goodness.
bigger or we could have added one. But what we're looking at is trying to get from where we want the treatment plant to be to get the service lines out there. So in
'Cause
that
then it
corner
gets
area,
distributed.
into the Woodland Cove area,
Right.
trying to get it to Woodland Cove. It's Boulevard, I believe, in that area,
Yeah.
which is, it is, there's nothing there. And it was not because of, it's not anybody's fault. No one thought about putting a treatment plant there. So no one looked at that in the past to put the water line, to upsize that water line. So,
Upsize
but
it.
we need to look at that before, I don't know, I think David said it was phase 10 goes in, to get that on the plans and figure out how that the phase that's in there right now is to upgrade to get to the main line on that, to get that in there. So that's what this will be. So,
Do we have to pay for the upgrade?
we will most likely have to pay for that upgrade.
It's only a 4-inch upgrade.
It'll be it'll be a whole separate pipe that'll probably end up going in there, figuring out to where we can get it to,
Right.
and then,
So all the way on Woodland Cove Boulevard to Kings Point?
to the treatment plant site. So somewhere through the new development that has not been done, through the part of the development that just got done, to the main line is what we're looking at, having to get a 12-inch main to.
A 16-inch.
main.
16 is what they want. 12 is all we can have.
Oh, okay.
Because all we have is 12-inch out there. So
Okay.
I say we'll have to have some kind of a manifold system to get that. We'll have to run something to the main. I mean, this will all be kind of what they're going to be looking at. So it's going to be quite the process. Do we run something down to tie in by the Kings Point for going to Hunter's Crest to the new tower, as well as going that way? And then have to have something to go to the new piping system that is on Lotus, which is an 8-inch, going towards the east to supply the 44 area, which would be Yellowstone, Palmer Point area. So it's going to be a complex type of piping system through there. So kind of a
Well,
hybrid.
maybe when we get to that point, it'd be nice to have a map so we can.
And they
see-
will, and
You know,
that's what we're working right
yeah.
now. We're working on trying to get them all the mapping from J.R. Hill,
Yeah.
who's the primary engineer out there doing all that, trying to get them all their needed info that they need for, especially for the next phase. So,
Okay.
yep.
We
So,
won't have to dig up Lotus Drive though, right?
no, we'll have to put some kind of a tie in there eventually, unless they stub something off. But
just been
it wouldn't.
redone.
I mean, it would be right in the development part of it.
Oh, okay.
So it wouldn't be anywhere that that it's done. It'd be tied in right at the beginning of the development, or as
Okay.
you come in there. So
All right.
If I may add, this will be the benefit of having this model, so we can kind of do some long-term planning, so that if there is a future road project, we make sure that the utilities that are put in are the right sizes and be a little bit more
Right.
thoughtful, so we're not tearing up roads and things like
Right.
that prematurely.
Yeah. Sounds good. Okay.
and this will be an hourly rate not to exceed the $49,150. So that's what we're asking for council action on tonight.
Okay. Thank you. Other questions?
They've got the projected cost broken down into 6 different tasks. Will the billings come to the city identifying those at that level?
Yes, as they come in, they will identify what they're doing, with the billing and what that covers. So we can keep track of how far they're at, what they're doing, and all that. So with the final plan being, this is what we've come up with. And at that point, we'll have them come in and present it. So you're not getting, kind of a second hand. Let them do it, But this is what we have. This is what we're going to need, and this is what we're going to have to do.
Thank you.
And they'll come in for sure, because a lot of this says we'll meet virtually.
I think a lot of that stuff was the main part of the stuff was for meeting to discuss with myself with that. But when it's presented, when the plan is done to present and figure out they will be here to do that in person. Okay. Yep.
And you meet with them, what, monthly or weekly, or what?
Right now, I'm meeting with them weekly, just kind of a quick phone call, just to kind of go through how we're doing, what we're looking at, and stuff like that. So they are the next one you'll see will be will be number 4, which will be the preliminary siting of wells and the water treatment plant in relation to this, to see where everything's got to sit on that property, to kind of figure out exactly where pipes got to go. So it's all going to kind of directly tie into it. But with that too, we'll end up having to do soil sampling out there, some board samples, to see what exactly got put out there for material, because that was a kind of a hole they filled. So to make sure that what's going to be underneath for a foundation for our water treatment plant will work. So there's, be a lot more stuff coming. And as I say, when Brian said it, most likely a lot of this will happen in 2023, 2024, more or less for the building part of it. But some of the preliminary stuff will be on next year, not, more planning stages than the actual construction.
Okay. When would we get a complete, if you will, kind of a schedule? So that they have tasks now 3 and 4, but now what's the next steps and the next and the next and the next 2 until the treatment plant is up and running? I mean, what's that?
That's what we're working for, and that's what once we get this hydraulic model done, then it'll have a little bit more of what's going to have to get done and where and when.
Okay.
And then, along with the testing of that, what's got to get done there, it'll have some timelines then, as well as, especially what they want to do is get some timelines on when this piping should get put in, and, especially to the parts that are getting finished now, when will be done. So I would venture to guess, however long this is going to take, I don't know. Could be a couple months to get this done, because we want it done right. We want, don't want them just throw a bunch of stuff together in a hurry, but do it right, and, and really evaluate the system. So hopefully by the end of the year, we'll have everything in place and have kind of a general timeline of what's going to happen.
Okay, great.
Sooner the better, but we want to get it right. We don't want to have any more mistakes. So,
all right. Any other questions? All right, then are we prepared to make a motion for task order number 3, which is the agreement with AE2S for developing a water hydraulic model in the amount of $49,150, was it? Not to exceed, I think it was. All right.
So moved.
Thank you, Kathleen. And is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Pam. Any further questions? Hearing none. All those in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion passes 5-0. That concludes, I believe, our business items. So thank you, Gary and staff. We'll move on to staff reports.
Yes, so in-person absentee voting starts this Friday, September 23rd, and we're open whenever City Hall is open for in-person absentee. Direct balloting, where you can actually come in here and put your ballot into the ballot counter, starts November 1st. And election day, obviously, is November 8th. And we do have a candidate forum next Thursday at 7. And all the candidates have been invited to come answer questions. I think 3 are attending of the 4.
Okay, and then will this be videotaped?
It will be videotaped. Yes, with names at the bottom, it'll be a really nice video. So,
Okay.
and that'll be posted to YouTube as soon as it's edited.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
At 7?
At 7.
7.
Yep.
Thought the website still said 6.
I
When is
think
it?
It's at 7. It's at 7, yeah. They actually had a thing in the Laker, the League of Women Voters had a whole schedule
Yeah.
for all of the surrounding communities and everything, and it was on there. So, okay, so it's going to be videotaped. So then the League of Women Voters puts it on their website. Are we going to have ours on our website
Yes.
as well then?
Yep.
Okay, all right. Any other questions? Great. And we have 4 precincts, right?
4 precincts.
All
Yep.
right. And then how do people find out what we have new people
Yep.
in the community.
Everyone in Woodland Cove goes to the police station.
It's right on our
But
website.
those that don't live in Woodland Cove and want to know where their
Yes.
precinct is, can they visit our website? And
Correct.
do you have that listed on there? Okay.
Yes, we
All
do.
right.
Yep, and they can always call City Hall if
Yeah.
they need to as well.
Okay.
And if
And
they're
I'll be-
registered, they get a little card that tells them to.
Yeah, and I post more before actual election day so people can easily
Right.
find it.
All right.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you. Jasper, anything?
I don't have anything. Thank you, Mayor.
You guys want to get home for the football game. I know that. All right. We'll start with Kathleen. Anything?
I have nothing.
All right. Ann?
Continued work with the Gillespie Center
Yep.
and with their membership drive, and then I'll be attending the Planning Commission Monday night.
Thank you. All right. And John?
Pioneer Sarah Creek last Thursday, a little update, the grant form that Brian filled for the whale tail proposed treatment was acknowledged by the state. Brian submitted a higher grant request based on the possibility of using the second chemical. So the bottom line is whether we use 2 chemicals or 1, the grant requires a 25% match by the partners. So, if he gets a grant of 400,000, I think that was about what he asked, 405,000. So we're looking at 100 and some thousand for the partners. If the grant is refused, which I don't think there's a chance of that, in Brian's opinion as well, obviously if the grant was refused, the project wouldn't be a go. So they'll know by December, with the idea then that early next year there'd be an agreement drawn up that the Three Rivers would sign with the Pioneer Sarah Creek Commission with the city of Minnetrista that details out the costs.
Okay.
So that'll be early next year.
All right.
That was it.
Thank you. Pam?
I had a personnel committee meeting to discuss the PTO conversion on 15th. Is it?
Yep. Okay, real quick, I also attended the Personnel Committee meeting and then the Northwest League of Municipalities on last Wednesday. Our speaker was Commissioner Anderson from Hennepin County. And I think next month we're actually going to have a demographer demographer there. So not somebody with statistics. So telling us all about various statistics in Hennepin County. So that'll be interesting too. Mostly it's just mayors, and we shared a bunch of things. And a lot of people are doing adjusting salaries. We're not the only ones. And also we asked about what different levies there are. And some of them are as high as 18% increase. There was one that's 22% increase. Some are lower. Of course, communities like Independence are still around that 3 or 4% increase, but we're not out of the norm. In fact, we're right in the middle in terms of our increase. So I think Medina was one that had a pretty significant increase too. So it's a lot of people are looking at having to raise their salaries, and that was one of the big ticket items for most cities. So just FYI, that's all I can remember. All right. With that, I'm done. So if there's a motion to adjourn, we can go home and watch the football game if you want. Thank you, Kathleen. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ann. All those in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion passes 5-0.
Yeah.
Thank you.